What can you learn in the next 21 minutes? That's what we are going to find out today. Hi, I'm Kiki L'Italienne, and I am here with the 21 and 21 Talks, part of Association Chat special series featuring 21-minute talks about all kinds of topics. And it ranges from really everything from roller derby and what you can learn about leadership to beekeeping. And I mean, if you can think of it, there's probably going to be some kind of session on it. The series consists of 21 talks that are 21 minutes long, happening in 2021. So 21 and 21. Speakers can choose to use slides. They can choose to forego them completely. As long as they don't go over 21 minutes, the floor is theirs. All talks can be watched on replay or live, but you can watch them on replay over on the Association Chat YouTube channel if you'd like to go back and see what you've missed. And I hope you do. I hope you check it out, because if you do, you might hear this little voice, this whisper in the ether saying, how do I support Association Chat? And if you want to do that, well, you should listen to that voice, and you should go to patreon.com/Association Chat. Now, for this 21 in 21 talk, we are talking to Tony Veroeven. Hi. Hello,
Hi,
Tony.
Kiki. Thanks for having me.
I am so excited to talk with you today. And here, you know what? Tony's going to be talking about 17 things to consider when starting an association podcast. I'm removing myself, but I am adding Tony to your lives. Tony, take it away.
Thanks, Kiki. I'm so honored to speak in front of the Association Chat, Association Profs, event profs. I've been around since the old days when we had that Twitter hashtag. Remember that? So it's so glad to kind of be in front of my old peers here again. All right, so let's get started. We've got 20 minutes and 50 seconds. All right, so 17 things to consider when starting a podcast. You're probably here because your executive director or your board said, hey, we should start a podcast. That'd be a good idea. Everybody's doing it, right? Hold on. You got to slow your roll. We're going to talk to you about how you should plan things out and not just hit record. Also, you're going to learn how to cook a steak. Here we go. All right. Today, I want you to learn. I'm going to speak fast, and if you've got questions, come back and hit me up. My contact information's on the last slide. But we got 21 minutes, so we're going to cruise. I want you to walk away with making a few less mistakes than I have made, and I have observed other people to have made as well. I've got tons of great tools and templates. Steal them, take them, make them their own. They're mostly in a Word document, so you don't have to try to copy paste a PDF, which is paste into a mess. So I'll give you all this stuff, original documents, and then at the end, you're going to learn here how to cook a steak properly and how that is similar to launching a podcast. Bear with me. Hang in there. All right. I'm currently on an executive or on a board for the local chapter of AMA Madison, the American Marketing Association, coming to the end of my term on that. I work for AMPT Association Management here. We're back in the office. It's great to be here. And formerly, I was a DJ at a roller rink back in the day, a mobile DJ, weddings, class reunions, school dances, and DJ at my college radio station. And I've developed and hosted 5+ podcasts as well. So I'm not an expert. I've just done things more than some and less than others. So are you sensing a pattern here? What would Freud say? Well, he would say, I don't have a really good accent here, but he might say Tony has latent radio aspirations. I did. And likes to hear himself self-talk. We'll see. Anyway, all right. So why do a podcast? All right. Well, here's a quick case study from one of a clients, very zoomed in here. 2015, we had a client who had a buyer's guide. I was in charge of that. I had to sell advertising on it and zero awareness, right? No revenue, not very much revenue. And they had the member had a certification program where they would want end users to hire them, and it would be better if they had if the members had the certification, right? So they wanted them to demand that they have a certification, and so they wanted them to kind of tick that box. And so the site struggled and revenue struggled, and so we wanted to tick a couple boxes on raising the profile of the site and of the membership and of this certification. We started a podcast. I didn't ask for permission. I just did it. That's why I made all these mistakes. Ask for permission, not forgiveness. That's a lesson. 22 episodes in, and 6 months later, we had 12,000 downloads in a very niche engineering automation, industrial automation. Doesn't seem very interesting, but it was pretty cool. But we had 12,000 downloads after 6 months, 6 5-star iTunes and reviews. And I did interviews. I was the host. And again, remember, I like to hear myself talk. They were recognized at a separate trade show from their interview that I conducted with them, that we helped them blast out. I thought that was pretty cool. And so a lot of anecdotal evidence here, but the profile of the site and the organization was raised immensely, and a big success. So more on that. We'll keep moving on here. So, Kiki, I think we have comments in here, or people can chat in here. We didn't talk about this beforehand, but if there's a way to do that. Okay. So if you just go ahead and just type, like, if you have a podcast now, just say that you're doing that, or started a podcast, but you're not active currently. Like, you got 5 episodes in, but we got stuck. Or I want to do a podcast. That's why I'm here and here to learn. I just, go ahead and put some comments in there, or I'd love to hear from you if we've got time for questions at the end. All right. So go ahead. Okay.
I was just going to say, we're getting hearts, but we're not getting any comments.
That's okay. We'll cover that. All right. So why do the podcast? Not just because you like to record and hear yourself talk, but what do you want to do? What do you want to shape public perception policy? Maybe you have government affairs or advocacy. Maybe you want to develop business development, membership and business development. You're trying to reach new audiences, deepen your network. You want to help your clients or prospects or board members or members reach out. And I guess that's part of your deepen your network. Maybe you're doing an individual podcast, right? It's a passion project. You have to know your why, align with your business goal. Okay. This is probably the most important, even above that. You have to know your why. But if you're not the executive, if you're the executive director, or you're the membership, or you're somewhere on staff as an executive here, and the board said, hey, let's do this, or the executive director said to do this, do they really have the patience, right? There's going to be hours and resources and money. It's going to take a lot of work, and you're probably not going to see an instant response, right? I hope that your leadership has patience for this. This is super important on that. So I guess plan this out, think forward about, just because you start a podcast, you release one episode does not mean that you're getting new members or new business development or whatever your why is, right? All right. Do you know your audience? Well, of course you do, right? You know your members, but think about who are your VIPs, right? Everybody's got a member that is that super member that does everything for the association. Think about them, but think about who is next in line to come through the association, join the association, and take that member journey. Like, are we attracting them? Do we want to attract them? Who is this podcast for? It goes back to the why, right? And then think about that last bullet point is, don't be afraid to be niche. Don't try to be everything to everyone. You by now there's 60,000 podcasts out there. There's something for everybody, and they're super niche, right? How many murder podcasts are there right now? True crime podcasts. There's something for everyone out there. All right. This is a big thing about the why and the commitment, right? Are you going to do what it takes? Maybe you were one of those folks that started a podcast. You got 5 episodes in because you've realized, oh my gosh, this is so much work. Maybe your leadership did not have the patience for you to keep doing this because it's something that's not generating revenue instantly. There's some other organic things that need to happen for them to see what's happening, like raising your profile. iTunes is littered with hundreds, probably thousands of that 60,000 that are just dormant, right? You get 5 or 10 episodes in and then you quit because something else comes along. Don't be that, right? This is why you need to think forward and all this stuff that you need to talk. You need to think forward and plan this stuff out before you hit record. And this is kind of slide after slide. I'm going to keep pummeling you with this of why not to just start. How often are you going to publish? Is this going to be weekly? Is a lot, right? Kiki, weekly is a lot. Kiki does this every week, right? And puts out a lot of content with this series. If you choose to do weekly or monthly, stick to it, right? You've got to build your audience. You've got to build some reps. You've got to figure out how you're going to do this and stick with it. But nowadays people do seasons, right? Maybe you do a few months of it and then you stop. Weekly is intense. Yes, it is a lot. So maybe you stock up on a few episodes. You've probably listened to podcasts that they'll rerun an episode because if you're one of those people who used to listen to albums, I would listen to an album straight through, right? When I discover new podcasts, I go back to day one and I listen to everything. But, not everybody, some people buy the singles, the 99-cent iTunes people, right? And they listen to one song. And so they might pick you up 87 episodes in, right? Well, they never heard episode 24. Run it again. All right, let's keep moving. Who's going to host the podcast? Well, if you're like me, I want to do it, right? I want to hear myself talk, right? So who's going to host that? Is it going to be a board member? Is it your executive director? Somebody on staff? Are you going to hire some industry expert? That person is really going to tie things together. So you really need to choose wisely. And if you have more than one person, remember, you're probably doubling or tripling the amount of that commitment. Remember, are you going to stick to it? Choosing a host, choose your host wisely. All right. What's the format of the average episode? We've all heard it may be NPR or super, the serial type of or highly produced podcasts. Those are great. A lot of work. Maybe it's just a single host speaking to the listener, right? Just me talking to you. Maybe I've got a host. I've got a guest every week. Maybe you hand over to Kiki's handing over to me and I'm the guest host for this week, so to speak. You got to think about what is the format is going to be engaging to the audience. Personally, I like long drawn out interviews with one guest. Think Kevin Smith or Nerdist or some of these where they'll go for an hour or hour and a half or something like that. We all have commutes. Well, we're getting back into commutes. Like if I listen to a podcast that's 90 minutes long over 3, home, back, and home, that's fine with me. I'm going to pick up and leave where I don't need to necessarily have a bite-sized 15-minute podcast. Something to consider. How is this going to sound, right? So, this is one of these free things I'm going to give you. Make a script. These are like stage directions. Like, okay, host comes in here. There's intro music. The big voice, the announcer person comes in. Thanks for downloading, right? So there's a flow. Design the flow. Don't just hit record. Design the flow of what this is going to sound like throughout that. Because if you hear podcasts, you're going to hear repetition. You're going to hear them say the same thing over and over. You hear that intro music come in, right? That's something you can count on. And that's not something that's a bad thing. It's something that creates a little bit of anticipation of what they're going to say next in that open intro, something they always say. I heard she's got that perfect intro that when she talks about the 20 and 21, right? We've all heard that before, and it's great, and you know what to anticipate. How are you going to schedule guests? If I would use Calendly or some other tool like this, just in an everyday use, but for scheduling guests, it's really great. And maybe you only record 2 days a week. I will record on Wednesdays and Thursdays. You don't want somebody picking up 7 a.m. on a Monday in your calendar when maybe they're abroad. And so you limit your schedule, put it online, tie it to your calendar, and people can pick and choose when you want to do recordings. The days you've done your hair and you're not in your pajamas and we brushed your teeth that particular day. All right. So, and of course, this helps. I would use this in your daily life as well. How are you going to prepare the guests? Well, before we started here, Kiki sent me an email that said, here's what to expect. Here's how to do this. Make sure you have good lighting. Make sure you have good audio. I've got a really great template for you and I will give that to you guys on a link here as well. So make sure that they're in a good environment, that they're not, the window's not, I do have the window to my back, but I do have a decent lighting here. If you're going to do video, make sure they've got a decent microphone. My real studio is at home. I do have a nice microphone like Kiki has, but I'm in the office, so I just have my headset today. All right. So how are you going to conduct the podcast? Well, hey, we're getting back in person. That's awesome. Maybe you've got a device, and we can talk about equipment here in a second. But, Zoom and Zencaster, Skype, there's tons of online podcasting platforms that will record video and audio, or just audio. And then how will you edit this, right? Think about all the infrastructure that you're going to need to do this. So a free program like Audacity is awesome. You can also pay for stuff like Audition or Logic. What equipment do you need? I actually do have a gear list. It's super suggested. There's a lot of stuff out there, but if you want to be mobile and you want to take this on the road, I built a studio in a Swiss Gear backpack with 4 microphones, everything. That's something, looks similar to this, not the laptop, but it's got tripods and all that kind of good stuff for about $850. Pretty decent stuff. Sounds great. Take it on the road. Now make sure you have TSA pre, because otherwise they're going to tear your bag apart. So make sure you have, that's a tip from your Uncle Tony. All right, so let's keep moving. Podcasting host platform. Do not host this on your own website. Don't put this on your Higher Logic or your MemberClicks or your whatever. You need to have your own podcasting hosting platform. There are plenty of people that do this. Here's a couple of them. Could be free, could be $5 or $20 a month. Well worth it. There are plenty of reasons why you don't want to do this, but bandwidth, you do not want to have your podcast blow up and then kill your bandwidth, and then your whole website gets shut down. That's the short version. All right. Here's where we slow down a roll. We've got recorded episodes. That which means we should go live right away, right? And tell everybody about it? No. Slow down. Put everything in your directories. Get it submitted to iTunes. Get it submitted to Stitcher, Google, all the places, right? Wherever you've listened to your podcast. You want to be able to, you've heard people say that, Google, iHeartRadio, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Take the time now to push all that stuff out. Some of that stuff takes some time to get that's not a word, pushed out to all these different directories. So take some time for let that happen over the course of a week or so, but start to build in your content right before you go live. Now you're going to go for a hard launch. Well, you've already got a built-in audience. You're an association. You've got 1,000, 5,000, 15,000, more than that. You've got a Higher Logic, or you've got an online program. You've got a mailing list. You've got established platforms where these people are. You can get really big and really established with your podcast very quickly. But again, slow down. You don't want to do it and then have to come back and change something. So, Tony, we should do a press release, right? Shouldn't we do a press release? Hold on. I'm going to tell you why you should not do a press release. And I'm going to teach you how to how to cook a steak. First of all, I'm just going to say, to tie this together, just make new episodes. Don't worry about going hard launch. Just concentrate on creating new content. Here's a little tip from your Uncle Tony, the other Tony Bourdain here. All right.
Do not touch it. And here is maybe the most overlooked feature or factor in the success or failure of a steak, particularly a thick steak, but it's true of all meat. This magical period immediately following its removal from the heat, it should rest on the board, meaning sit there at room temperature for 5 to 7 minutes, at which point stay away from it. Don't touch it. Don't poke it. Don't slice it to look inside. Do not start slicing it into slices right away. What's going on inside is it is continuing to cook, but even more importantly, the juices are distributing themselves in a truly wonderful alignment. That's why if you cut into a steak too quickly off the barbecue, you get this sort of bullseye pattern instead of what it should be, a gentle graduation from red to various hues of pink to the outer crust. All the difference in the world between a good steak and a totally messed up steak is going on in that period of time that you're just doing nothing. Nothing. I'm going to find a good, hot, sizzling, either grill or pan, get a good crust and sear on the outside. You want to finish it either in the oven or all the way on the grill, and then just let it sit. Don't wrap it in foil. Don't cover it. Don't poke it. Don't prod it. Don't even look at it. Just let it sit there, leave it alone, and you will be rewarded.
What about ads and sponsorship? See last slide. See the video. Just create good content. I promise you, if you just focus in on good content, they will find you. People will ask you about sponsorship. The audience will come. People will talk about you. Just do good work. Don't slice into it. Just let it go. Let the juices flow, right? How are you going to do all of this, right? So what you want to do is, are you going to have, again, will leadership have the patience for you to create all this do all this editing? Are you going to hire someone to do this internally? Who's going to do it? Maybe you outsource. There's plenty of podcast editors out there as well. It takes longer than you think. 1 hour episode could take 5 to 8 hours. That includes editing, promotion. Obviously, if you need to go back and talk to the speaker about, or the interviewee, and making sure that the content's approved, you probably want to take advantage of that, or take care in doing that anyway, and making sure you have have them sign something so that you won't have to worry about that in advance. So think about who's going to do all the hard work, the heavy lifting, which is the outsource, or the editing. All right. Finally, as we're coming in for a landing here, everything great, everything that you've ever done. You may not have seen this. This is not mine, but everything starts here. Hey, let's do a podcast. This is great. This will be fun. And then you're going to go through the pit of despair. Isn't it true? If you joined a new job, or you've launched a new conference, or there's always that slog somewhere. There's the pit of despair. But if you keep up, if you just produce new content, keep cranking it out, you'll rise up out of this, and you'll find your way out. So this is the emotional journey of creating anything great, your great podcast. All right. I think I made time, right, Kiki? Here, I've got time for some questions.
You did. You made time, and it was fantastic. I have to say, in listening to all of your tips, all of your advice, I 100% agree on everything you said, but especially understanding that, rather than really trying to go heavy on the promotion on the front end, just do the work, get the episodes out, get the content out, streamline your process, figure out, how you're going to get the editing done, because it will demand more of you than what you want it to. It will take more time than what you want it to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I didn't have, there's a bunch of other slides here that we kind of go through some of the other, templates that I had mentioned in here. They're kind of contextually in there, but if you go to that bit.ly link, there's a whole, it goes right to my Dropbox. There's a ton of files in there, scripts. I think I have this presentation in there. There is a directory submission tracker. There's a gear list in there. There is I'm trying to think of what else is in there. Anyway, there's a ton of templates in there. Go take it for free. There's also a podcast overview. So how do you take this and create this plan, and then take this to your leadership and say, what is this going to be? That is important, to have a one pager of what the podcast is, who it's for, and then hold yourself true to that. You're going to get people that ask you, I want to be a guest on your podcast. Please interview me. You have to don't sacrifice your direction and your one pager, what's on your one pager, for content. That person may not fit your plan. So don't just take anybody, because they will veer you off course.
I love this. I love this. And listen, if you really want to get into the heart of it, check out the bit.ly link. Go check out those resources, but reach out to Tony. Tony is awesome. You know, in talking with you beforehand, before we even jumped into the 21 and 21 talk, I was like, oh my gosh, you reminded me of a time we ran into each other at an airport, just happenstance, and grabbed a drink. And, you know, Tony is so great to talk with, always super fun, and obviously super knowledgeable and helpful. So reach out to Tony and get your information. Tony, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Kiki. Thank you, Association Chat.
Woohoo! All right. So what did you learn from this 21 and 21 talk? I'm telling you, I learned so much, but the thing is how are you going to apply it? You're now 21 minutes smarter, 21 minutes wiser about how you should put together your association podcast. But what are you going to do with that information so that you can really put it into action? That remains up to you. So as always, keep asking questions. You've got to keep asking questions to learn every day. Because why? Because as Joseph Campbell once said, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. Have a great rest of the week, everyone.